Okay, I think folks will live. Can you please confirm on chat if you can hear me and see me all right? If the AV is clear, and then we can get started. Okay, I can see it on my screen. Should be live. I'll just wait for confirmations on chat. If a couple of you, oh, Shubhankar, great. Thank you, Shubhankar, for confirming. All right, I'm hoping it's okay for everyone else as well. If you can just say hi on chat, I think I can say a hi back and then we can get started. Just doing a bit of small talk. Okay, Yash, fantastic. Thank you for confirming. All right, people. Welcome everyone to this session. Good evening, Nirpangna. Good to see you here. Welcome everyone. Sushita, good evening. So this is VRC Blitzkrieg, people. Now, this is the second session of this season. We did one session. We did the first one last Friday. Okay, and I think some of you did attend that. I can see some familiar names. So just very quickly, I'll tell you what VRC Blitzkrieg is, or what Blitzkrieg is when it comes to 2IM. What we do every year is we do live sessions for different sections. Okay, so this year we're kicking off with VRC Blitzkrieg. So what I'm going to do in these Blitzkrieg sessions is I'm going to discuss 2023, all the questions, all the VRC questions from CAT 2023, bit by bit. Okay, so we started with slot 1. We did 2 RCs last time. We're going to do the remaining 2 RCs today. Okay, and then we will do verbal ability of slot 1 next week on Friday, and then so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to do this VRC Blitzkrieg every week on Friday at 8 p.m. on our 2IM channel. All right, so please subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and then join us. I'll be doing this live. I'll discuss the passages, questions in detail, answer all your VRC questions. Last time we spent about 2 hours 15 minutes, so it was a solid session. I hope folks found it useful, but there were a lot of questions. More than happy to solve them. So definitely join us. Okay. Now, the requirement of these sessions is you should pre-read the passages and come. If you're discussing RCs, you should read the RCs in advance. Okay. So we always include the link in the YouTube description. Now, my teammate Harshvin has sent it on chat as well. If you click on that, that document contains the 2 RCs that we're going to discuss today. Okay. So you're supposed to pre-read the RCs and come prepared, not the questions, just the passages. So that I don't have to give you time to read. We can just directly start with the questions. Okay. Since this is the second session, I will give you a bit of time to read today. But from next time is verbal ability, so you don't need to do that. But whenever we're doing RCs, please pre-read the RCs and come prepared. Okay. Awesome. So let's get started, folks, without any further delay. Very quickly, I'm going to talk about 2IM's Test Dojo. So this is 2IM's mock CAT test series. Okay. Of course, if you're a 2IM student, you can ignore this promotional message. If you're a non-2IM student and you're interested in joining our test series, this test series is available. The link will be sent to you in chat. You can check it out. We're going to give you 26 mocks, high quality mocks, 8,000 practice questions, and all the previous year papers in mock format from 2017. Okay, so it not only has 26 mocks, which is the main feature, it also has 8,000 practice questions, out of which 5,000 are at CAT level. So definitely check it out. Okay, an interesting thing for today's session is we're giving a coupon code. Okay, so if you're interested, you can use, please use the coupon code. It's 2IM CAT. All the details are in chat. The original price is 5,999. With the coupon code, you can get 1,000 rupee off, and you will get it for 4,999. Okay, this coupon code, obviously, like all coupons, will be available for a limited time period only. This is especially for this session, so please use it if you're interested, and you can enroll. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with us. Okay, now the promotional message is okay. Let's get Let's get started with the passages. I hope you folks are excited. Okay, now we're gonna discuss this passage, which is about affluent society. The title doesn't matter because CAT RCs don't have titles. Now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to click on the document link, which has been sent on chat. It's also in the YouTube description. Open this. I'm going to give you some time to read this passage. Okay. Read the passage with a lot of interest, enthusiasm, curiosity, active reading. Extract the main idea. So once you're done reading, you can send me the main idea on chat. I really want you to send me the main idea because that is the best way to solve RCs. So extract the main idea, send it on chat. Let me know you're done reading, and then we will start solving questions together. Okay, Go for it, people. Read this with a lot of interest. Okay, doesn't matter whether the topic is of interest to you or not. Just read it as a, because I mean, it's CAT, right? You're going to get marks in this. So read it with a lot of interest. Extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences and send it to me, and then we'll start discussing the questions. Go for it, people. Enjoy. Okay, awesome. I am now seeing some main ideas. Just give me 1 second. 1 second, people. Yeah, I'm now seeing some main ideas. Please, I'll give you maybe a minute or a couple of more minutes to read. Next time, please pre-read the passages and come. But do send me the main idea. In the meantime, I'm going to read what Bunny is saying. Well, that's the alias on YouTube. Hunters and gatherers can satisfy the need by far less work than agri-industrial society. Okay, that's you're definitely on the right track. Good job. The main idea is more than what you've mentioned. But you've definitely touched on one of the important points very well. Okay. Yeah. So well done. Of course, I'll discuss the main idea so you can compare notes. Others, please do send your main ideas when you're ready. I'll probably give you a minute more to read, and then we'll get started with the questions. All right, folks, let's start discussing. Any more main ideas? Or you can just type done in chat to let me know if you're done reading. Can I get a few more dones? Can I get a few more main ideas? And then let's start discussing. Okay. I'll wait for you folks to respond. I think there's quite a bit of lag on YouTube today, which is very annoying. Folks, please let me know. It's very important to interact so that I know that you're done. Okay, I've gotten one more main idea. Very good. Hunters and gatherers are opposed to modern day capitalists, don't get much diverted with progress, and continue what they call collective choice of practices. Okay, okay. Yeah, you're on the right track. I'm not sure if I agree with the phrasing, but I think I get what you're saying. You're definitely on the right track. Okay. All right, folks. Let's start discussing now. Today, what I'm gonna. I mean, I do this every time. I'm not going to give you the main idea up front, because if I give you the main idea, then you'll get clues about questions. All right. So we'll solve the questions first, and then I'll make sure to come back and give you the main idea. And if you want, I can discuss the first passage in detail as well. Okay. But let's go to the questions. Make sure you have your main idea ready. Now let's go to the questions. Okay. Now, this is your question one. What we're going to do is, please read the question carefully. Okay. Read all the options. Take your time. I will run a poll, answer in the poll, and then we'll discuss the question. The poll is up on your screen. Please take your time and answer in the poll. Yeah, Sabrish, I'll discuss the main idea later. If I discuss the main idea now, then I'll end up giving you clues to the questions. Okay, but I'll definitely discuss it. And if you guys want, I can discuss the first passage in detail as well. Okay, if you can hear some background noise, I apologize. That'll be taken care of in like 2 minutes. Okay, folks, I'll end the poll in 30 seconds. Please vote. All right, I'll end the poll now, folks. Okay, let's discuss. The lag on YouTube is very annoying, but you can see how you voted. Very few votes. Please, everyone should vote in the session so that you can learn. Okay, now 40% of you have gone with choice 2. All right, this is your first choice. All right, 33% has gone with 1. This is your second choice. 26% has gone with 3, and no takers for 4. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is not area 4 choice, no takers. Let's discuss this. Now, the question says we can infer that Salin's main goal in writing his essay was to. Okay, of course, in the RC, the author talks about Salin's essay, right? The original affluent society. That's the essay by Marshall Salin. The question is asking, we can infer that Salin's main goal in writing his essay was to do what? Now think about this question. I don't know if you understood, if you caught that, but this question is related to the main idea. You can tell me in chat. I'll keep talking because of the lag. But the question is related to the main idea, because the main idea in the RC is centered around Salin's essay. Marshall Salin has written an essay, The Original Affluent Society. The author basically discusses the essay. So the main idea is centered around Salin's essay. So the answer to this question is very closely related to the main idea. Okay, I hope you got that. You can tell me in chat. So here what we'll do is, since this is related to the main idea, let's discuss the main idea of this passage first. Okay, and some of you might have found this passage complex, because it is. The language is complex in this passage. Okay, it's not very concrete. It's a little abstract, so that's why you would have found it complex. So I think this is a good essay, a good RC for us to discuss. Okay, so let's discuss the main idea, and then we'll come down to that. Will give us the answer. All right, now I won't discuss the passage right now completely, but I can discuss it at the end. See, again, as I said, the author talks about Marshall Salin's essay, okay, which is Original Affluent Society, right? Now, in the first paragraph itself, the author tells us Salin's principal argument was simple but counterintuitive. Before being driven into marginal environments by colonial powers, hunter-gatherers or foragers were not engaged in a desperate struggle for meager survival. Quite the contrary, they satisfied their needs with far less work than people in agricultural and industrial societies, leaving them more time to use as they wished. This is a very important line, because this is the principal argument of Salin in his essay, Original Affluent Society, and the main idea is centered around it. So what is Salin saying? Salin's argument is that hunter-gatherers or foragers, okay, chose a life of, like you would say, they didn't overwork themselves. Okay, they were not greedy. they were not materialistic. Hunter-gatherers or foragers, according to Salin, were not materialistic. They were not out there to, gain more wealth and sort of satisfy their desires, which were unlimited. They had limited needs. They worked to fulfill those needs, and then they spent the rest of the time for leisure. So they led a relaxed life, which is quite in contrast to people in agricultural and industrial societies where it's capitalistic. We are out there, we want more money, we want more wealth because we have like these unlimited desires. So we're very capitalistic and materialistic in nature. So hunter-gatherers or foragers were not like that, according to Salin. They worked just to satisfy their needs, and rest of the time they used it for leisure. Okay, so that is the principal argument. Now in the RC, the author also tells us that foragers and hunter-gatherers didn't do this out of compulsion. Okay, they chose this life. And that's what the second paragraph says, isn't it? They chose this life. This was a conscious choice, because the second paragraph clearly tells us that, the author takes an example, right? Contemporary Hadza of Tanzania, who were hunter-gatherers or foragers, they were surrounded by farmers. So it's not like these guys didn't have alternatives. They had alternatives. They could have adopted farming, but they didn't do that. They chose to remain hunter-gatherers and foragers, right? Because they made a real choice, because they wanted to live that life, that relaxed life, which is not out there to acquire more and more wealth. Okay, so that is very important to understand, that it was a deliberate choice by the hunter-gatherers. And one more important point that the author makes is that we can learn from hunter-gatherers and foragers. Hunter-gatherers and foragers took a conscious decision to live a relaxed life, the Zen road to affluence. So the author says this tells us that there are choices available. Okay, the capitalistic society that we live in, okay, it makes us feel like that this is the only choice, but that's not true, is what the author is saying. We can learn from this that there might be other possibilities that we can explore, and we can take a leaf out of the book of hunter-gatherers and foragers. So that's what the RC is all about. Okay, and the main idea is centered around it. So this is the main idea. I've written like in detail, but you can have a look. Okay, so it's centered around the essay Original Affluent Society by Marshall Salins. All right, the principal argument, I've spoken about that. It's opposite to how the capitalistic society operates today. Okay, and it's important to note that they did this by choice. And the author says that Salins' essay shows us there are alternative possibilities to the standard contemporary economic life. Okay, so Sabrish, it's going to be on your screen, the main idea. There's a bit of a lag. Have a look at it. Okay, read the main idea and then let me know. Okay, Pradeep is asking me, main idea is just revolving around foragers. That is definitely the main aspect, Pradeep. Okay, it is around Original Affluent Society, which is about the foragers, hunter-gatherer lifestyle. So definitely around that. How did the foragers and hunter-gatherers lead their life? How was it different from capitalistic society? And what kind of lessons can we learn from it? Okay. Right. So you can see the main idea on the screen. Sabrish, I hope it's clear. I don't need to repeat it. All good? Do you agree with this main idea, folks? Again, our words don't have to match, but you should be on the same page. I hate this lag on YouTube. Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's, I hope the main idea is clear. Okay. Let's go to the question now. Okay. Because the question is centered around the main idea. All right. Salins' main goal, which is centered around the main idea. Okay. Now let's look at the options. Let's evaluate it. The options are complex, as somebody was pointing out. Location. Okay. Let's look at one. Now, please understand how to evaluate. So this is how I would solve this question. I have the main idea in my head. Now I'll look at the options. Highlight the fact that while we started off as a fairly contented egalitarian people, we have progressively degenerated into materialism. Okay. Now, the first thing that you have to ask yourself is this aligned with the RC? It seems it's aligned. Okay. We started off as a fairly contented egalitarian people. Egalitarian people. Okay. Egalitarian focuses on equality. Okay. Egalitarian focuses on social equality. Was the discussion around equality when it came to hunter-gatherers and foragers? Think about it. I mean, yes, the author does talk about inequality in the current society, but when the author talks about hunter-gatherers and foragers, was the focus on equality and egalitarianism? Not really. Not really. Okay. Still, see, is this the Stalin's main goal? That we started off as an egalitarian society, but we progressively degenerated into materialism. That is not Stalin's main goal. Stalin's main goal. Okay, that is not his main goal of the essay. His main goal of the essay is to talk about the hunter-gatherers and foragers' lifestyle and how we can learn from it. Isn't it? That's the main goal. So this option, you might argue that it's aligned with the RC, but I disagree with that because egalitarian part is not the focus. Even if it's aligned with the RC, this doesn't answer the question. This is not Stalin's main goal. Think about it. Okay, so this is not the answer. All right. Put forth the view that despite egalitarian origins, economic progress brings greater inequality in social hierarchies. Now understand this option. Despite egalitarian origins. So what this option is saying is, economic progress has egalitarian origins. Is that what the RC is saying? Economic progress of today, does it have egalitarian origins? Is that what the RC is saying? You can't really connect it, or if you connect origins to hunter-gatherers, there was no part of economic progress there, right? Think about it. The option makes it seem like economic progress has egalitarian origins, and that's the discussion in the RC. Not really. RC compares the capitalistic society versus the hunter-gatherer society. So saying that economic progress had egalitarian origins and then it became unequal is not correct. It's not aligned with the RC. And that's not the goal as well. Might be an attractive option, but it's not. Understand it. Okay. All right. Let's look at 3. Hold a mirror to an acquisitive society, a society that wants to acquire more, with examples of other communities that have chosen successfully to be non-materialistic. What example in the RC do we have of another community that is non-materialistic? What example do we have? Hunter-gatherers, foragers. Hunter-gatherers and foragers were not materialistic. So this is holding a mirror. This is telling the capitalistic society, look at yourself. You think that this is the only choice, but we had hunter-gatherers, primitive people, who led a very non-materialistic life, and they chose that. So this is a choice available for you as well. So this option is aligned. Now I'll tell you what the problem with this option is. It doesn't mention hunter-gatherers. It seems like a very generic option, but it is the best option available. It's definitely aligned with the RC, and it is aligned with the main goal. The main goal is that, okay, hunter-gatherers, foragers led this lifestyle. The contemporary society, materialist society can learn from it. So let's park this. Counter Galbraith's pessimistic view of the inevitability of a capitalistic trajectory for economic growth. Does Stalin counter Galbraith's pessimistic view? Think about it. Tell me in chat, and I'm glad you didn't choose this. Does Stalin counter Galbraith's pessimistic view, or does Stalin align with Galbraith's view? And we can go back and check, right? This is the paragraph that talks about it. Is Stalin aligned with Galbraith, or is Stalin against Galbraith? Aligned. Okay. And if you want, I can discuss this, but it's definitely aligned because Stalin takes a note out of that book. So it's definitely aligned with Galbraith. So saying it counters Galbraith's view is wrong. Okay. All right. The answer is number 3. Okay. It's a tricky one. Right? And you saw how you voted as well, right? It's tricky because the passage is tricky. It's aligned with the main idea question, and the options are definitely tricky. See, this seems like a generic option. So your mind tells you this can't be correct. But remember, in CAT, this happens quite a bit. Just because an option is generic doesn't mean it's automatically wrong. You have to evaluate it, compare it, and here it is the best answer available. Can I write a better main goal? Can I write a better main idea? Definitely. But this is the best option available. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's go to question 2, people. Let's do this. And now when you're solving these questions, if wherever required, don't hesitate to go back to specific portions and figure out and confirm your answer. Okay, don't rely on your memory. I'll run the poll. Just give me 1 second. The poll is up on your screen. You can start voting. I'll go on mute for like 2 minutes. All right, folks, I'll give you 30 more seconds and then we'll start discussing the question. Last 10 seconds. And we're done. All right, now you can see the votes on the screen. There is a very strong majority in this question. Okay, so let's see whether you're right or not. 80% of you are saying 1. This is your first choice. 15% is saying 2. Okay, 5% is saying 3, and then no takers for 4. Okay. All right. The author mentions Tanzania's Hadza community to illustrate. Now, this is a why question, right? Why does the author mention this? Why questions can be tricky. They're not always tricky, but they can be tricky because it requires you to go deeper and sort of understand, okay, why did the author say this, right? And often the answer is not literal. You know, there will be a literal answer which would seem like very attractive, but often the answer is not literal because the purpose of the author can be deeper. So you have to think about it. So the author mentions Tanzania's Hadza community to illustrate. What you should do is whenever you're solving questions, try to create a shadow answer. A shadow answer is an answer that you create without looking at the options. So what I'll do is, wherever possible, I'll come back, I'll quickly scan this paragraph, I'll understand why the author has mentioned Hadza of Tanzania, and then try to answer the question. So when you create a shadow answer before looking at the options don't confuse you as much. Okay. All right. Moreover, foragers had other options. The contemporary Hadza of Tanzania, who had long been surrounded by farmers, knew they had alternatives and rejected them. Okay. So this is an example of a forager hunter-gatherer community. They had choices. They had a choice to turn into farming, but they did. To Salins, this showed that foragers are not simply examples of human diversity or victimhood, but something more profound. They demonstrated that societies make real choices. Culture, a way of living oriented around a distinctive set of values, manifests a fundamental principle of collective self-determination. The last line is complicated. Don't get stuck there. The focus of the paragraph is that the Hadza made this choice. They made a real choice of remaining to be hunter-gatherers and foragers in spite of having the farming option. Why? Because they wanted to live this life where they're only working for their needs and then they're relaxing and pursuing a life of leisure. Okay, so they made a real choice. That's the focus of the paragraph. That's why the main reason that the author mentions that is focused on the choice. All right. So understand this line also, although it's not important, but just to increase your comprehension. What this line is saying is culture, a way of living oriented around a distinctive set of values, manifests a fundamental principle of collective self-determination. So the society, the community determines for themselves about how they want to lead their life. That's what it means, self-determination. So the Hadza self-determined for themselves that they want to live a life of hunter-gatherers. That's what it means. Okay, although we don't need that to answer that question. Okay. All right. The author mentions Tanzania's Hadza community to illustrate that foragers' community lifestyles derive not from ignorance about alternatives from their own choice. Yes, this is definitely the focus. Let's park it. But again, even if you're like 100% confident, quickly scan the other options. You never know, you might have a better answer. Okay. So don't just like stop at one. Even if you're 100% confident, quickly scan it. I'm not saying spend a lot of time, but scan it. How two vastly different ways of living and working were able to coexist in proximity for centuries. Now, this might be true that the Hadza, which were hunter-gatherers, and the farmers coexisted. But this is not the reason why the author mentions this example, right? Even if this is aligned to the RC, ask yourself, does it answer the question? The author is not mentioning Hadza to tell you that they were coexisting with farmers. That's not the author's purpose. So sometimes options will align with the RC, but do they answer the question? No. All right, they don't answer the question. How pre-agrarian societies did not hamper the emergence of more advanced agrarian practices and contiguous communities. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? The author doesn't even touch on this, right? How pre-agrarian societies, that means Hadza, did not hamper the emergence of farmers in contiguous communities. Where is this coming out of nowhere? Nope, this is not the discussion at all. That hunter-gatherer communities' subsistence level techniques equip them to well out of scope, completely out of scope. Okay, the answer is 1 year. Now, this was a manageable question in this RC. If you got it wrong, don't worry about it. Just learn from it. Okay, the learning I think you should draw from this question is sometimes the options will align with RC, but they may not answer the question. So you should always ask yourself, does it answer the question? Yes or no? And then choose accordingly. Okay, awesome. But people who got it right, good job. Let's go to question 3. I'll run the poll. Now, this is a good time to tell you to like as well. Try and like the stream, like hit the like button, not the heart, right? Because it helps us like gain more visibility. So definitely, if you're finding it useful, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We are going to do these sessions every week on Friday, 8 p.m. All right, folks, I'll give you another 30 seconds and then we'll start discussing. Right, last 10 seconds. Okay, let's end the poll now. All right, so you can see how you voted. Okay, let's discuss that. So 30% of you are saying 3. All right, that's your first choice. 26% are saying 1, so it's very close. That's a second choice. 26% are saying 2, that's your third choice, and 17% are saying 4, that's your fourth choice. So see, whenever there is a question like this and the poll is like split wide open, right, that sort of is an indicator that you found this question tricky. It is tricky. This question is tricky because the options are tricky, right? And also it's a why question. Again, why questions are typically tricky. The author of the passage criticizes Salin's essay for its. Why does the author criticize Salin's essay? Now, the answer to this is, if you've read effectively, you would have gotten a trigger that the author's criticism is in the last paragraph. Tell me in chat if you got that trigger or not. If you didn't get the trigger, that means you didn't read the passage effectively. Okay, so you would have gotten that trigger. Now you should build a shadow answer. Even before looking at the options, you go to the last paragraph, read it, understand the perspective of the author. Why is the author criticizing it? And then pick the option. Try to build a shadow answer wherever possible, because the moment you look at the options, remember the options are designed to confuse you. The exam setter's job is to confuse you, right? So create a shadow answer, then the options won't confuse you as much. The shadow answer doesn't have to be accurate. Some answer. Okay. All right. Let's read this. So let's read this paragraph. This is where the criticism is, right? Viewed in today's context, of course, not every aspect of the essay has aged well. We're talking about the Salin's essay, Original Affluent Society. While acknowledging the violence of colonialism, racism, and dispossession, it does not thematize them as heavily as we might today. Okay, so this is one piece of criticism, right? That the author says the Salin acknowledges the violence of colonialism, racism, and dispossession, but it does not thematize them as heavily as we might today. Now, you might not understand what thematize means, but try to understand what the author is saying. The author is saying Salin acknowledges it, but maybe Salin doesn't focus on it as heavily as we do today. And think about it. This might be due to the fact that we're more woke now, right? It can be whatever. It's possible. But the author has that criticism that Salin acknowledges it, but does Salin focus on it? Does it emphasize on it? Does Salin emphasize on it? Maybe not. Okay. Rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating present-day foragers as left behind by progress, it too can succumb to the temptation to use them as proxies for the Paleolithic. Now, understand this sentence. It is a little complex. Rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating present-day foragers as left behind by progress. Who's rebuking evolutionary anthropologists? The author or Salin? Evolutionary anthropologists are treating present-day foragers as left behind by progress. Who's rebuking them? Salin or the author? Salin. Salin, that's what you need to understand here. Pradeep, understand this. The author's criticism is this. It too can succumb to the temptation to use them as proxies for the Paleolithic. The rebuking is not the author's criticism. The author is not criticizing Salin for rebuking them. No. The rebuking, Salin is criticizing evolutionary anthropologists for treating present-day foragers as left behind by progress. Then the author says, because Salin does that, it too can succumb to the temptation to use them as proxies for the Paleolithic. So basically, the author is saying that for Salin, the Paleolithic was all about present-day foragers. That's the author's criticism. That for Salin kind of succumbed to the temptation to use foragers as the main sort of focus area for the Paleolithic era. Okay. Yet these characteristics should not distract us. Okay, now the criticism is over. So there are two pieces of criticism here. Okay, there's one around Salin acknowledges colonialism, racism, and disposition, but doesn't focus on them enough, or doesn't stress on them enough. And second, Salin succumbs to the temptation to use hunter-gatherers or foragers as proxies for the Paleolithic. To understand that line, it's a little tricky. These are the two pieces of criticism. We're going to now solve accordingly. All right, we have the shadow answer, right? Two pieces of criticism. The author of the passage criticizes Salin's essay for its outdated values regarding present-day foragers versus ancient foraging communities. Is that why the author is criticizing? Think about it. That's not the author's criticism. Okay, outdated values regarding present-day foragers versus ancient foraging community. Not really, right? Is the author even comparing present-day foragers with ancient foragers? Think about it. There's no comparison, right? We are talking about hunter-gatherers and foragers. We're not saying present-day foragers versus Paleolithic era foragers. No. So read the option carefully. Okay, this is not, it's actually not aligned with the RC. Okay. Failure to supplement its theses with robust empirical data. Where does the author say that? The author actually says there is empirical data, but the focus is not on empirical data. The author doesn't criticize Salin's essay for not having robust observational or empirical data. So go back and check, it's not there. Okay. Okay. Critique of anthropologists who disparage the choices of foragers in today's society. Disparage the choices of foragers in society. Okay. Again, this is not the author's criticism as we discussed just now. This is what Salin did. The author is saying when Salin did this, Salin succumbed to the temptation of thinking that of using hunter-gatherers and foragers as proxies for the Paleolithic era. So understand that sentence. This is where comprehension comes into picture. It's tricky. This is not the author's criticism. Cursory treatment of the effects of racism and colonialism on society. What does cursory mean, people? Don't Google it. Tell me, what does cursory mean? Have you heard of this word? What does cursory mean? Cursory treatment. Now, you know this is the right answer. Okay, it has to be. Bhakti saying unjust. No, it's not unjust. Take another guess. Now, this is the right answer. Link it to the RC and now think, what does cursory mean? Lacking seriousness. Yes, you're close. Cursory is superficial. Superficial. Okay, superficial treatment of the effects of racism and colonialism in society. And that is one of the criticisms, right? We discussed it. Author says Salin talks about it, but doesn't focus on it enough, doesn't emphasize on it enough. So cursory is superficial treatment. That is the meaning of the word. So the answer here is 4. Now, it may seem like not the best answer, but it is the only available right answer. 1, 2, and 3 is not correct. Okay, 4 might seem like it's a lukewarm answer, but it's the best answer available. And that's one thing you have to remember for CAT. You're not more often than not, you will not get perfect answers in RCs. Because if they give you a perfect answer, it becomes too easy for you to pick it. So they'll give you lukewarm good answers. You have to choose the best answer. Is it aligned with the RC? Yes. Is it the best answer available? Yes. Don't go out looking for perfect answers. Okay. The answer is 4. All right. It might be a narrow POV, Lokesh, but this is the best answer available to us, right? There is nothing in 1, 2, and 3 that it's wrong. 1, 2, and 3 is not aligned to the RC at all. Okay, so remember that. It often happens in VRC. Don't go look out for perfect answers. I always tell my students, perfect is the enemy of good as far as VRC is concerned. If you get a perfect answer, great. But more often than not, you will get lukewarm good answers, which is the best answer available. Okay, awesome. Let's a tricky one. Let's go to question 4. I'll run the poll. Okay, the poll is up on your screen. Please vote. Sure, Serene Sea Monster. I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it. Okay, just vote for this, and then I can come kind of confused. No problem. I'll go back to it. All right, folks. Last 15 seconds. I'm laughing at the message my team sent. Hulk's got you covered. Bharat's reading list. That's good. Okay, I will end the poll now. Okay. Right. Let's look at this. Second. Wait, what happened here? Why did the poll results not come here? Did the poll results show up? Yes, I think so. Okay. I hope I'm seeing the right poll results. A little confusing the interface, but anyway. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, so you're saying 30%. No, wait, this is wrong. Is this correct? Wait, are the poll results showing on your screen? Now they're showing. Okay. 31% of you said 1. Okay. 31% of you said 2. Oh, very nice. 31% of you said 4. So then 1, 2, 4, and then third is like the last choice. Okay, this is how you voted. So very confusing. This is a confusing question. Definitely confusing. The author of the passage mentions Galbraith's affluent society too. Now, again, it's a why question. The options are also very tricky. So overall, this passage is tricky. The content of the passage is tricky. The questions are also tricky. A lot of why questions here. Okay. Now, don't get confused, right? Galbraith is another entity. Okay. Galbraith is Galbraith is another entity, right? So Salin, basically what he does is he is inspired by Galbraith's book, and we'll go back and read that paragraph. So the Affluent Society is Galbraith's book. Salin's book is called the Original Affluent Society, and it's inspired by Galbraith's book. Okay, so the author of the passage mentions Galbraith's why. Why does the author mention this book? I mean, the discussion is around Original Affluent Society by Marshall Salin. Why does the author bring up Galbraith? Okay, let's go back and read that paragraph. Okay, because the answer is there. You should do this while solving question as well. You should come back, quickly scan it, understand it, build a shadow answer, and then answer the question. With its titles nod toward the Affluent Society 1958, economist John Kenneth Galbraith's famously skeptical portrait of America's post-war prosperity and equality, and dripping with new left contempt for consumerism, the Original Affluent Society brought this critical perspective to bear on the contemporary world. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, this means that it says with its titles nod toward the Affluent Society. This basically means that Salin, in his essay, was inspired by this. Okay, and then it talks about what Affluent Society was. So Affluent Society was written in 1958 by economist John Kenneth Galbraith. It was a skeptical portrait of America's post-war prosperity and inequality, and dripping with new left contempt for consumerism. Think about it. So the Affluent Society criticized America's post-war prosperity, economic prosperity, and inequality. And it was a criticism for consumerism as well. So very much aligned to Salin's views, right? Salin also does that, if you think about it. Salin also targets capitalism. Salin also targets inequality. Salin also targets capitalism. So they're very much aligned, right? Think about it. So Salin was inspired by this book. So what Salin did was, okay, got inspired by this book, and Salin's essay, The Original Affluent Society, brought this critical perspective to bear on the contemporary world. So Salin took this critical perspective because Salin agreed with it. This critical perspective was about America's post-war prosperity. Salin brought that critical perspective to modern times, to the current industrial, capitalistic, materialistic society. That's what that sentence means. Okay. It did so. So how did it do that? It did so through the classic anthropological move of showing that radical alternatives to the reader's lives really exist, right? If the capitalist world seeks wealth through ever great material production to meet infinitely expansive desires, foraging societies follow the Zen road to influence, not by getting more, but by wanting less. So taking the example of foragers, Salin said, listen, there are alternatives existing for you. This is not the capitalism is not the be all and end all of this world. Look at foragers. They went on the Zen road to affluence, right? By focusing on wanting less rather than getting more. And we can do that too. If it seems that foragers have been left behind by progress, this is due to only the ethnocentric self-congratulation of the West. So Salin didn't agree that foragers were left behind by progress. Rather than accumulate material goods, these societies are guided by other values, leisure, mobility, and above all, freedom. Okay, so what is happening here? Salin is inspired by Galbraith's book. I'm mispronouncing his name. Galbraith, what he does to post-war prosperity and inequality and consumerism, Salin takes that critical perspective and aligns it with the contemporary modern society. Okay, so that's why the author of The passage is mentioning Galbraith's affluent society. Now we have to look for the correct answer. Okay. To contrast the materialist nature of contemporary growth paths with the pacifist content ways of living among the foragers. Okay, think about this option. Is this why the author is bringing in this affluent society book? To contrast the materialist nature of contemporary growth paths with the pacifist content ways of living among the foragers. Is that the reason why the author is mentioning this book? Think about it. Is the author contrasting materialistic with forager's lifestyle? Maybe yes. But is this the reason why the author is bringing in this book or mentions Galbraith's affluent society? Okay, you know what I'll do in this case? I'll give you the right answer first, and then we'll compare it. I think that will become easier. So the right answer is this one. Okay, look at this. Show how Salon's view complemented Galbraith's criticism of the consumerism and inequality of contemporary society. The reason why Galbraith has been mentioned is to tell you that Salon aligned with Galbraith's view. What Salon did was, because he agreed with Galbraith, Salon took that perspective and applied it to contemporary world. Understand that. The main idea is around Salon's book. Galbraith has been mentioned to tell you that Salon aligned with that view and took that view and applied it to the contemporary world. That is the purpose of the author for bringing in affluent society. I hope this is clear. Think about it. So the answer is 4, right? Contrasting is not the author's purpose of bringing in affluent society. Okay. Now, this one might be an attractive option. 2-1. Document the influence of Galbraith's cynical views on modern consumerism on Salon's analysis of prehistoric society. Okay. Now, compare 2 and 4. Is the author's purpose to document the influence of Galbraith's cynical views? Think about it. 2 seems attractive, but 4 is better. Okay, 4 tells us that Salon was complemented Galbraith's criticism and took that. The purpose is not to document. That's not the purpose. The focus is not on Galbraith. The focus is on Salon and how Salon took that and applied it to contemporary society. So it's a very attractive option, but 4 is better. Okay. Show how Galbraith's theories refute Salon's theses on the containment of, okay, this is wrong. Galbraith and Salon are not in opposite camps. They're in the same camp. So saying that Galbraith's theories refutes it is wrong. So this is completely wrong. Okay, 2 is attractive, but 4 is better. And hence the answer is 4. Very tricky question. Out of all the questions that we did today in this RC, 4 is the trickiest one. Okay, so in the exam, a lot of students might have left this question, and rightly so. So your question selection strategy also matters. Here, of course, we'll attempt all the questions. But in the exam, if you're not 90% sure of your option, you should have left this question. This is not a question worth taking a risk in. Okay? All right, perfect. Let's go back to 3. Sea Monster was asking me a question. Can you please why 3 is eliminated? Okay. Critique of anthropologists who disparage the choices of foragers in today's society. All right, so Sea Monster, just in the interest of time, you can go back and watch the recording. See, my point here is that this part, okay, let me just clear this. Rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating present-day foragers as left behind by progress. This is not the author's criticism. Okay, this is what Salon, I'm getting confused here. Yeah, this is what Salon did. Okay, the author's criticism is this part. So understand that sentence. Okay, it's confusing. Salon rebuked evolutionary anthropologists. Okay, the author is not criticizing that. The author is criticizing that by doing this, Salon succumbed to the temptation of using them as proxies. So just go back and watch the recording. All right. That part is not the author's criticism. That's why we're eliminating 3. Okay. All right. Now, overall, folks, tricky passage, tricky content, complex content. Questions are also tricky. So this is a complicated passage. but it's good to practice. But in the exam, be careful, right? The other passages in the exam, this was from slot 1. The other passages were much more manageable. So passage selection also comes into picture. Now you'll do the next passage. It's very manageable. You'll see that. So you have to sharpen your passage selection skills as well. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Now let's go to the next passage. Very quickly, again, we have a test series at 2 IM. Okay. We give you 26 full length mocks. Okay. With detailed solutions. 8,000 practice questions, out of which 5,000 are CAT level. And all the papers since 2017 as mocks. Okay, so this is all you get. The price is 5,999. All right. We have a coupon code for today's session. It's called 2IIM CAT. Okay, this is a coupon code. They'll send it on chat as well. If you use this, you can get a 1,000 rupee off. It's for a limited period only. And you can get this test series for 499. Okay, so if you're a non-2IM student, you can go for it. All right, perfect. Commercial break is over. Let's go to this. This passage you'll enjoy. Okay, this is my sort of gift to you for kind of sticking with the first passage, which was complicated. So go for it. You'll enjoy this. Read it in the link is there on chat and in the description. Read this passage with a lot of interest. Extract the main idea. I'll give you very few minutes. Next time, please pre-read and come. I'll give you a few minutes and let's discuss the questions. Go for it. All right, folks, definitely send me the main idea. This is a manageable passage as far as the content of the passage is concerned. Please put in that effort to extract the main idea. It will really help you build skill. Okay, send that or just type done in chat, and then I'll know when to start discussing the questions. Done, folks. Let me know in chat, please, if you're done reading. I'd love to see some main ideas as well, or just type done so that I know I can start discussing. Next time, do read the passages. Of course, the next session is verbal ability, so you don't need to do anything. But for the session after that, do read the passages and come prepared. Okay, perfect. Shubhankar is saying done. Others, I hope you folks are done as well. Let's start discussing. Next time, please do send main ideas. Okay. All right. Perfect. Now, how did you find this passage? I'll start discussing it, but let me know how you found this passage, right? It was quite manageable, actually, by CAT standards. This was one of the most manageable passages in CAT 23. Okay, so let me know if you agree with that, if you found it manageable. On a scale of 1 to 10, how complex was it for you? Like 10 being very complex and 1 being very easy. Maybe give me the scale, I'll get an idea. But in my opinion, this was one of the most manageable passages in STOT 1 and overall CAT 23. Okay, just pretty straightforward to understand. So if you look at the main idea, right, the main idea here is centered around the return of wolves, isn't it? The main idea is around the return of wolves in Lozère. Okay, so Lozère is in southern France. It's a village, right? And the wolves reappeared in Lozère. That's the main idea centered around that, the return of the wolves in Lozère. And why did it happen, right? The RC explains that in detail as to what caused the return of wolves in Lozère, right? So the author gives you multiple reasons, and they're all part of the main idea, right? Rural depopulation, which is very interesting. When I read this passage for the first time, I was like, we actually have places in the world where the population is decreasing. As an Indian, it's very difficult to understand that, right? I mean, look at our population. Like we are multiplying like crazy, right? A billion plus. So for us to sort of suddenly, it was like cognitive dissonance for me. When I read it, I was like, whoa, like you have places where, depopulation is happening. So depopulation happened, population decreased, green cover increased, forest cover increased, and the wolves made a comeback. And there were other reasons as well. Okay, so that's a part of the main idea, the reasons as to why the wolves made a comeback in Lozère. And also one part of the main idea is, the clash, right? There is a clash there, right? Between two parties. I won't get into the details because I don't want to give away answers, but there is a clash as well there. But if you ask me, I haven't written the main idea here, but I would say the main idea is return of the wolves in Lozère. My writing is horrible. and what are the reasons. The reasons are also part of the main idea. I won't mention all the reasons, but depopulation, okay, and then there are several other reasons. So this is definitely the main idea. There's also a clash between two parties, okay, who have difference of opinion. That's also another part of the main idea, but the main part of the main idea is this. Okay, I hope you agree. Let me know in chat. Let's continue. Okay, go for this one. Let's solve this quickly. I'll give you the, and please, even if you find the question very easy, just go back quickly to the specific portion of the RC and quickly confirm your answer. Don't make a mistake. Don't make a silly mistake. I'll run the poll. Please go back and confirm. Don't make silly mistakes. Silly mistakes will really hurt you in CAT, right? Because you get too cocky. You're like, oh, I know this question. I know this like the back of my hand. No, the questions can be tricky. Go back and quickly take 5 seconds to go back to a specific portion, scan it, and confirm your answer. Because if you lose it to a silly mistake, it's going to really hurt, right? Okay, I'll give you last 30 seconds. All right, let's end this poll now. Okay, now you can see that there is an overwhelming majority here. 85% of you are saying 3. Okay, and then 14% is saying 1, and there are no takers for the remaining options. You're correct. There is no answer. This is not the answer. So I'm not going to discuss this. Okay, I'll just discuss the 2 that you've chosen. The inhabitants of Lozère have to grapple with all of the following problems except, this is an except question. Okay, so that means there are 3 of them are problems, 1 of them is not a problem. Okay, so inhabitants of Lozère have to grapple with all of the problems except 1. So 3 are problems, 1 is not a problem. We have to pick the 1 that is not a problem. Do they have to grapple with poor rural communication infrastructure? Yes, there is evidence for that. Look for evidence. Residents of Lozère Hilly Department recite complaints familiar to many rural, I'm not reading the whole thing, grumble about a lack of local schools, jobs, or phone and internet connections. Phone and internet connections is infrastructure. It's clearly mentioned. So they do grapple with poor rural communication infrastructure. This is not the answer. They are not grappling with a decline in the number of, this is not a problem for them. Okay, this is the reason why the population of wolf has come back. Understand the context. Okay, where does it say? Right. Okay, the decline of hunting as a sport. Okay, in the mid to late 20th century, over 2 million hunters regularly spent winter weekends. Today, the Fédération Nationale des Chasseurs, the national body, claims 1.1 million people hold hunting licenses. The hunting licenses have gone down. That has been mentioned as a reason for the wolves making a comeback. This is not a problem of Lozère. Again, it might be aligned with the RC, but isn't answering a question. No, this is not the problem with Lozère, and that's why this is the answer. So, a very manageable question. Okay. Had you gone back and checked quickly, you would have gotten this correct. So, if you've made a mistake, don't worry about it. Learn from it. Okay. Learn as to ask yourself, why did I make this mistake? And fix that next time. Okay. But manageable question. Let's go to 2. I'll run the poll. Okay, 30 more seconds, people. I'm ending the poll now. All right. Now, this is how you voted. 69% of you are saying 2. So this is there is a majority. 15% is saying 3. 7% is saying 1. And 7% is saying 4. Okay. Which one of the following has not contributed to the growing wolf population in Lozère? Lozère, this is the main idea, right? Lozère's wolf population is growing, and there are several reasons mentioned for that. Okay. All the reasons are typically mentioned in this are mostly mentioned in this paragraph. There are various factors there. Okay. Now, if you look at this question, let's look at it. So, which of the following is not contributed? It's capitalized. Don't always bank on not being capitalized. A question setter might decide not to capitalize not. Okay, that sounds funny, but don't bank on that. Read the questions carefully. So, 3 of these are a reason for the growing wolf population. One of them is not a reason. Our job is to pick the one that is not a reason. Okay. Granting of a protected status to wolves in Europe. Is this true per the passage? You should get a trigger that you've read about somewhere. You read about protected status of wolves in Europe. If you look at this paragraph, it does say that, right? The mostly protected status of the wolf in Europe, hunting them is now forbidden. Other than, plus the efforts of NGOs also contribute to the recovery of wolf populations. So it is protected, and that is contributing to the protection of wolves and growing population. So this is a reason, definitely a reason mentioned. We're looking for the option that is not the reason. This can't be the answer. The shutting down of the royal office of the Lupari. Where does the RC say this? Where is the evidence for this? People who didn't pick this, you thought that this is a reason. Where is the evidence for this in the RC? Nowhere in the RC does it say that the royal office of the Lupari was shut down and hence the population came back. Where is it mentioning Lupari? It mentions somewhere here, right? One second. Where is Lupari mentioned? Somewhere it's mentioned. I'm not getting it. If you can tell me in chat, please. 1 second. So, there you go. As early as the 9th century, the royal office of the Lupari wolf catchers was created in France to tackle the predators. Okay. Where does it say it was shut down? It just mentions that it is no, you can't really, it doesn't say it was shut down and that was the reason why the wolf population grew. It is not mentioned. Not the shutting down is not mentioned. Okay, let's park this. An increase in woodlands and forest cover in Lozère. It's true. Absolutely true. As the depopulation happened, okay, the forest cover increased. As humans withdraw, forests are expanding. Forest cover increased by an average of this many hectares. So as the forest cover increased, the wolf came back because that's the habitat of the wolves. This is the reason. Okay. A decline in the rural population of Lozère. Depopulation is clearly mentioned. This is the reason. The only reason which is not mentioned is shutting down of the royal office of the Lupari, and therefore this is the answer. This by CAT standards is a manageable question. Okay, if you got it wrong, it's okay, but please learn from it. Sharpen your do more practice, sharpen your reading skills so that you can solve these questions correctly. Okay, all right, let's go to question 3. Go for it, people. Go back and check. Don't rely on memory. Quickly go back and check specific portions. It will increase your accuracy. Right, last 30 seconds, people. I will end the poll now. All right. So let's look at how you voted. 50% of you are saying 4. All right, 28% is saying 3, 14% is saying 2, 7% is saying 4. No, sorry, 1. Okay. All right. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The author presents a possible economic solution to an existing issue facing Lozère that takes into account the divergent and competing interests of. Okay. So understand this question. It says to an existing issue facing Lozère that takes into account the divergent and competing interests of. Issue, it's very clear what the issue is in Lozère. The return of wolves is an issue. But is there some kind of debate around this? That's what you have to think. So it says takes into account the divergent and competing interests of. The issue is very clear, return of the wolves. Okay. But are there two parties here that one is saying that, oh, the return of the wolves is good. The other party is saying the return of the wolves is bad. Are there two parties and a difference of opinion? That's what you need to understand. So there is a difference of opinion, right? Because if you go back, it says last paragraph, as the lupine population, lupine is wolves, feline is cat, canine is dog, like that, bovine is cow. As the lupine population of Europe spreads westwards with occasional reports of wolves seen closer to urban areas, expect to hear of more clashes between farmers and those who celebrate the predator's return. Who's celebrating the predator's return? Think about it. Farmers' losses are real, but are not the only economic story. Okay, that's fine. But who's celebrating the predator's return? According to the RC. Think about it. Who's celebrating the predator's return? Farmers are definitely against it because livestock losses are happening because of wolves. But who's celebrating? Who's happy about the wolves' return? Look at this. Wolves have since spread to areas such as Lozère, delighting environmentalists who see the predator's presence as a sign of wider ecological health. Environmentalists are happy, obviously, right? They're like, oh, these wolves are coming back. That's a good thing for our environment. That means our environment is stronger. Okay. Farmers who say the wolves cause the deaths of thousands of sheep and other grazing animals are less cheerful. They grumble that green activists and politically correct urban types have allowed the return of an old economy. This is the conflict. I didn't want to focus on this. I didn't want to tell you this, but this was a part of the main idea as well. The debate is between farmers and environmentalists. Environmentalists are happy, farmers are not happy. Okay, let's go back. So that's the debate. The author presents a possible economic solution to an existing issue. Now, this clash between farmers and environmentalists, does the author have a potential solution? Economic solution? Yes. Farmers' losses are real, but are not the only economic story. Tourist venues such as parks where wolves are kept and the animal spread is discussed also generate income and jobs in rural areas. This is the solution that the author, kind of solution that the author proposes. But the clash is between farmers and environmentalists. Okay, there's no clash between tourists and environmentalists. They're on the same side. Environmentalists and politicians are not mentioned. Politicians and farmers, no, there is no clash mentioned. The clash is between farmers and environmentalists. Okay, again, I wouldn't say it's as manageable as the previous question, but this is a manageable question by CAT standards. 3 questions in this passage are manageable. The content is manageable. By CAT standards, this RC was a sitter. Honestly, I wasn't slot 1. When I was reading this RC, I was like, this RC is a sitter. Whoever attempts this is going to be very happy. Right? This is actually, if you think about it, I'm not joking, this is 12th standard level RCs. Okay, this CAT by CAT standards, it's actually a manageable RC. So it was a lucky stroke. You know, people who got this, people who read this, if your passage selection skills are good and you attempted this, it's a good choice. Okay, let's go to question 4. Let's do this and we'll close the session. It's a critical reasoning question. Be a little careful with that. Again, if you're getting questions wrong, don't worry about it. Just learn from it. Okay, practice more, do more leisure reading, and you'll get there. Okay, I'm going to end this poll in 10 seconds. All right. Okay. Let's 1 second. Right. Let's discuss this now. 46% of you are saying 1. All right. 2020 is saying 2 and 3, and then 13 is saying 4. All right. Okay. Which one of the following statements, if true, would weaken the author's claim? So this is a critical reasoning question, and it says if true. Whenever the question says if true, you have to consider the options as true. You have to assume that the options are true. Then you don't look for evidence. Okay, you assume that the options are true. And then whichever option weakens the author's claims most is your answer. Weakening the author's claims means adding a doubt. Weakening is not necessarily invalidating it. It's just adding a doubt to the author's claims. Okay, all right. Number 1, so assume that this is true. Wolf attacks on tourists in Lozère are on the rise. Now, if wolf attacks on tourists in Lozère are on the rise, if this is true, would the tourists be happy about it? No, obviously not, right? Tourists are not going to be happy if there are wolf attacks happening there. Now, in the RC, it says that tourists are happy, isn't it? The author is saying that tourists are happy about it. Tourist venues such as parks where wolves are kept and the animal spread is discussed also generate income and jobs in rural areas. So these tourist parks, these tourist venues are thriving. More and more tourists are visiting. Okay, if it is true that tourist attacks are on the rise, then this would weaken the author's claims, right? The author is claiming that these tourist venues are doing well. We can infer that more and more tourists are visiting. But if this is true, then it weakens the author's claims. It adds a doubt, because why would tourists visit if wolf attacks are on the rise? So this weakens the author's claims. We'll park it. Okay, we haven't looked at the other option. There can be another option that weakens it more. Having migrated out in the last century, wolves are now returning to Lozère. This is aligned with the author's claims. The author is saying wolves are coming back. And if this is true, that having migrated, now they are returning, this actually strengthens the author's claims that wolves are returning to Lozère. How does it weaken it? It does not weaken it. Okay. The old mining sites of Lozère are now being used as grazing pastures for sheep. Okay, this also is aligned. Okay, we are saying that more and more land is going back to forests. Okay, depopulation is happening. More and more land is going back. It's kind of aligned. This does not weaken the author's claims. Unemployment concerns the residents of Lozère. If unemployment concerns the residents of Lozère, they would be happy with these tourist venues. Remember, the author says that tourist venues are generating employment. If unemployment is a problem in Lozère, they would be okay with these tourist venues. So it's kind of aligned with the author's claim. It does not weaken it. The author is saying that these tourist venues and parks are creating employment. If unemployment is a concern for residents of Lozère, it's aligned. Doesn't weaken. Okay. The answer that weakens is number 1. It is tricky. It's not a very straightforward question. Remember to assume that they are true. And weaken is adding a doubt, right? Not invalidating it. So here 1 weakens it. This is the only option that weakens, and this is our answer. Now, this passage, as I said, is manageable. 9 marks are possible, right? Sharpen your passage selection. That would have, and then pick the right passages. You could have gotten 9 marks here had you attempted CAT 20 easily. Okay. All right, folks. So we'll end the session here. Again, test series is there. The message is there. If you want to enroll for it, the coupon code is also there. Limited time, you can enroll for it. If you have any questions, reach out to us. You can email us at info@2am.com. On the chat, you'll get those details. Phone numbers also are there on our website. You can reach out to us. We have courses, live courses, self-paced courses, both for 24 and 25. You can reach out and you can get more information. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Prithif. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Good night. I will see you next Friday. We'll do verbal ability for slot 1. You don't have to do anything. Just come to the session and we'll have a blast in the session. Verbal ability is always more fun. Okay. All right, Sushita. Good night. Good night, everyone. Lokesh. Lokesh has a doubt. Lokesh, are you my student? I'm a little exhausted, but if you're my student, can you just put it on the WhatsApp group? I'll answer it. Or if you're, I think you're my student. If you're not, put it in the comments. I'll get back to you. A little exhausted, so I'm just going to dial out. Put it in YouTube comments. Or if you're a student, then just put it on WhatsApp group. Okay. All right. Thank you, folks. Good night.